On this episode, we recap a big weekend of racing this year's Memorial Day weekend. First off, Zach Catanzareti gives us a breakdown of the Indy 500 with a record-tying fourth win by Helio Castroneves.
From the exit of turn 4 down to turn 1, it was packed.
We also had Seth Eggert out on site at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He got to witness history in the NASCAR Cup Series, with Hendrick Motorsports becoming the new all-time win leader, passing Richard Petty Motorsports after Kyle Larson won in dominating fashion in the Coca-Cola 600.
No one could touch Larson, although even he will admit that he didn't have the best car.
And we have a special guest today with Christian Coley joining us, our ARCA specialist, as he gives us a breakdown of the ARCA West and the National Series racing out at Mid-Ohio and Sonoma Raceway this weekend.
It's like Groundhog Day in the ARCA Menard Series. Ty Gibbs won again.
Plus, I'll be giving us a breakdown of the Pro Motocross season opener out in Pala, California at Fox Raceway, and a big news with SRX, as a title sponsor has stepped in to partner with the series. Camping World is going to be the title sponsor partner for the SRX series. So sit back and relax and enjoy a new episode of The Kickin Show. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to The Kickin Show. This is Justin Schuler. Jerry's going to be joining us a little bit later, but right now in the house we have none other than the Three Stooges, right? Zach Catanzareti, how are you doing?
Nuck.
That's right. And if I grew my hair out, I guess I could be like, Curly or Mo or something like that. But no, and then our digital racer expert, Seth Eggert, also on pretty much every episode as well. How have you been?
I've been pretty good.
That's good. And you guys, both of you were at probably the most legendary races of the year. Zach out at the Indy 500 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Seth, you were out at the Coke 600, the longest race on the NASCAR circuit. And my goodness, those are two races that are quite the experience. But Zach, just kind of let us know, like, how was it out there with Memorial Day weekend and all that? Fans were going crazy in the stands.
I mean, you couldn't help but feel what that energy was like. I mean, it had been a little bit. It didn't feel like 135,000. It felt like 150 or 170. I know I've been hearing from people, and we're like, from the exit of turn 4 down to turn 1, it was packed. Like, it didn't look like 40%. So I'm sure there was a lot more. I mean, it was incredible. It was a hell of a day. It wasn't a straightforward weekend. Like, it was a straightforward weekend. It didn't have all those elements that Indianapolis usually has, like carb day, no pit stop competition. There was no concerts, like a lot of what makes that weekend special. The Freedom 100 for the Indy Light Series, none of that happened this year. Legends Day was a little more quiet, but when we got past all that, we got to race day on Sunday. It was pretty much like the same old type of thing. This was my 5th year covering it, and it really didn't feel a whole lot different. A lot of that energy was, in one way, it was actually more than usual, because it had been 2 years since anyone had seen a 500. All these people who have been, going to that race for 35, 40 years. I mean, everybody goes there every single year. And I think that speaks a lot about the race, and they finally got to be back, and they saw a hell of a race. It was highly competitive. 36 lead changes, which was the most in 5 years, I believe. Lots of different leaders, and a very clean race as well, which was kind of surprising. There was no on-track errors by a driver. All the accidents were pit-based. So whether it was Graham Rahaal's wheel not being secured and him crashing on the track, or Will Power, Simona Di Silvestro, Stephen Wilson, they all spun going on the pit road. So everything had to be about pit road, and it really led to just a straight up race for the win at the very end. And with Scott Dixon and Alex Rossi shockingly out of the picture early because of running out of fuel in the caution, it kind of opened the opportunity pool a little bit. And we saw Maya Shank racing with Elio up front, Ed Carpenter racing with all 3 of their drivers looking for their first 500 win, and 4 teams in the top 4 finishers. It was experience against young blood with Helio Castroneves, and Alex Palou. I really thought Palou had him in that 10, but it turns out Elio was kind of playing that experience to his hand a little bit, and he was kind of running there behind him. He was kind of looking at how many laps to go, where the lap traffic was coming, and how to make that move, when to make the move, and with 4 to go, you saw I think it was Ryan Hunter-Reay and a couple up ahead. He's like, okay, I got to pass him now. Suck up on those lap cars, and he won't stand a chance. And it worked out, and he got it. And when he crossed the start finish line for the win, the crowd just absolutely erupted. They was so jacked to see such a cherished piece of history that we've been waiting for 12 years now. 2009 was his last win, and he was close in 2014. He was super close in 2017, and I know Dario Franchitti had one shot to get his 4th win before his injury took him out of the sport. But Elio has had so many chances, and when he left Team Penske a couple years ago, or last year was his last with the team, I'm like, man, I don't think he's going to be able to get this 4th win. I don't think it's going to happen. And then he with Mayor Shake Racing, and they got it done this year, and it was just an incredible feeling. It was an unbelievable race, and just having everybody back, it was no better time to see him get his 4th, because all the fans wanted it to happen, and it happened, and it was something nobody will ever forget.
Yeah, and not just the fans too, but I mean, you saw a whole bunch of drivers and team members come out and congratulate him too. It was a remarkable, and I caught the last few laps. What an amazing finish too. That was on the edge of your seat. You didn't know who was going to win. You didn't know what was going to happen. Someone was going to crash, make a mistake, slip up. It was great. But yeah, we'll get back to you a little bit later. As you want to get more in depth with the Indy 500 weekend and all that. Seth, though, you were out in Charlotte with the Coke 600, and NASCAR did something special after the second stage. They brought everyone down for a moment of silence for all our fallen heroes. Tell us what that was like in person.
That was the second time I've witnessed that in person. Just being at the track, though, first off, it was home away from home. That's the way I would describe it. It was good to be back inside the track, inside the media center. I had actually gone out to pit road at the end of stage 2 before they stopped the field on pit road. I went out there with a couple other media members. It was myself, Peter Strada, Noah Lewis, and Bozy was there, and I forget who else had come out to witness it, but just it's almost an eerie calm in the middle of a 600-mile race. It's hard to describe, but it did feel special, just what NASCAR did and is trying to do with the moment of remembrance during the 600 miles of remembrance in the Coke 600.
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy weekend with lots of racing. And then Rachel and I, we were out at Pro Motocross with their season opener out in Paula. We'll break that down a little bit later. But a great Memorial Day weekend of lots of racing. And then obviously Monday, setting aside some time to remember those who gave it all for our country too. And last but not least, joining just now, Christian Coeli, our ARCA professional, out there, gonna give us an ARCA recap and preview here pretty soon. But Christian, how was your weekend?
It's been really interesting. I ended up having to be out of work for a little while because of a problem with my foot, and that's why I'm here today. But yeah, otherwise it was a good weekend.
Awesome. No, that's great. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get rolling with some of these previews here shortly. But news first, we've got drivers kind of backpedaling with some series for some track time, but also taking advantage of some pretty cool tracks coming up on the schedule. Seth, you've got a couple of those you're going to point out here.
Yeah, over in the truck series at Nashville, William Byron will run a second truck for Rackley War. He's going to run the number 27 Rackley War Chevrolet Silverado in the Rackley Roofing 200 at Nashville Superspeedway. And as a teammate for him, Josh Berry will be driving the number 25 Rackley War Chevrolet. Zach will have a little bit more on that in a little bit, but William Byron's hopping back down to the Truck Series to get a little bit more seat time going into Nashville. In addition to that, over at Texas, Chase Elliott is hopping down into the Truck Series to run for GMS Racing in the number 24 truck that was vacated by Rafael Lessard's sponsorship issues.
You mentioned Timothy Peters there, and of course, to give that opportunity to Josh Berry, Timothy is out of a ride. He's leaving Rackley War Racing effective immediately, so he won't be back in that 25 at least for the near future. Berry's going to be behind the wheel for a few upcoming races: Texas, Nashville, Pocono. I'm sure they're probably going to see where they are competition-wise with a driver like that. I mean, I feel he's a really good test subject. I mean, everyone's throwing offers at this kid, and for a very good reason. He's doing a lot of great things in Xfinity this year with Junior Motorsports, 3 top 2s in the last like 5 or 6 races, plus a win. He's got a cup start, now he's got truck stuff. I mean, he's got a lot, and it's probably the best time in his career right now. You never want to get a ride like that. You know, you have to feel for Timothy. He's been kind of in and out of the truck series for a while. It was going to be neat to see him back in a full-time opportunity, but it's just been a really hard year for him and that team. He ran great at Daytona. He just didn't get the finish. He got wrecked out. And since then, just 2 top 20s. And he's finished outside the top 30 more than inside the top 20. And that's just really tough for any truck team, let alone one that's kind of getting their feet off the ground. And for someone like that with that much experience, they probably expected a little more bang for their buck, and it's just not working out. So he's going to be out, and Josh is going to be in, and hope the best for them in these next few races together.
Well, another big thing with Josh Berry is the fact that he is from Hendersonville, Tennessee, which is just up down the road from Nashville Superspeedway. So I really feel like it was a really good move to put a Tennessee native in the truck with the Rackley War, especially with Rackley being the entitlement sponsor of the truck race. But, you know, it's a big deal having somebody from Hendersonville, which is, I mean, not even 30, 45 minutes away from Lebanon. So, you know, that was one of the big spotlights that I pointed out in the Zoom chat the Slack chat we had earlier this week, was the fact that, you know, a local driver with a local sponsorship, it would be a Cinderella story if he was able to win with Willie Allen and everybody from Nashville.
Yeah, and going back to Timothy Peters too, you're saying too, Zach, you know, this is a guy who's won races. He's competed up front. He knows what he's doing, and this year just being so off. I don't know if this is actually quite as much of a surprise. Usually whenever someone who is slated to be full-time with the team for the year and then they get cut in the middle of the season like this, sometimes it comes across as a little bit of a shock. But I don't think this one was quite as much of a shock, because I think, you know, knowing Timothy Peters, he wants to be back up front, and whether it be it just wasn't a good fit or something happened or whatever it might be, I think Timothy Peters just wants to find a ride that gets him back up front.
Yeah, man, I don't know what it would take, you know, because as I said, like, we're going to learn a lot about this team with Josh. I feel like when it's a fairly new organization, you got one driver. I mean, I know he's a great plate racer. He's great at, I mean, his last win was Talladega in 2018. He was great at Daytona this year. He's good with that. But when it comes to like his real race winning days, you know, you have to go back 6, 7, 8 years to when he was like winning consistently. And that's back when he was running for championships. Like, he went from really high marks with Red Horse back in the day, and he really fell off hard. And when Red Horse left the sport, he's kind of just been moving around. He's kind of been a journeyman racer for a little bit. So, and that takes a lot out of you, because this sport changes so much week to week, let alone year to year. So if you're not staying with the competition and staying with the equipment and all the changes with personnel and just all this stuff, it starts to show on track. And he got 10 races in. I was hoping that was enough to kind of build some repertoire. I'm sure he did, but they just need more results. And we'll see if those results come with Josh.
Also get curious too with William Byron running the truck in Nashville, if Hendrick Motorsports has done anything to kind of step in and say, hey, we're going to help y'all out in the future, because you know they're not going to put William Byron in a truck that's not going to be competitive. So that was another question I had, was in the fact that Josh Berry is driving for Junior Motorsports. I don't know if Hendrick Motorsports or Rick Hendrick or somebody at Hendrick decided, hey, that's a team that needs help. It could be an open seat. And, maybe we could put Josh Berry in there, because otherwise, once Sam Mayer jumped in the 8 car, Josh wasn't going to get very many starts.
Well, just to add to this, when Rackley War announced that they were going to be competing, a part of their announcement was that they were going to have an alliance with GMS Racing, and Junior Motorsports and GMS Racing teamed up to basically create Chevrolet's driver development program, Driver's Edge Development. So to put their drivers in, whether it's Josh Berry, whether it's William Byron, maybe even, granted, I know Sam Mayer's running a part-time schedule with Brett Holmes Racing in the Truck Series, but even some of their other developmental drivers, whether it could be someone from the Cars Tour or somebody like that, in the truck from time to time, it opens up the possibility. And also, this isn't the first time Hendrick has done this with a truck team. Remember way back when Contreras Motorsports, they ran Chase Elliott at Martinsville, and we all know that was a Hendrick truck made in the Hendrick shop. So whether or not that's the case here, I don't know, but they are getting a lot of help in general from GMS.
Yeah, so it'll be really interesting to see what happens with all these changes coming up in the trucks, with some drivers moving around. Obviously, like you guys said, with Timothy Peters backing out of that new team there, that's going to be a seat that opens up for someone full-time, and it might be an opportunity for Josh Berry or maybe someone else in the future. Who knows? But let's start getting into our race weekends. Well, first, I have an update with SRX. If you are following Marcus Lemonis on Twitter, he's been doing a lot of giveaways. If you're looking to get an RV, just go follow his Twitter account and you have a pretty good shot at it. But he also put up a fancy logo with Camping World and then something kind of scratched out and blacked out just underneath it. And he pretty much had a big old question of, if anyone can guess what this is, you have a shot at winning. And it ended up being Camping World SRX. So that was the biggest announcement from Marcus Lemonis in the SRX series. Camping World is going to be the title sponsor partner for the SRX series. Again, they're coming up here in just a couple weeks. I think June 12th is the first one. And Christian, you're going to be shooting one of those races, maybe two. I don't know if I think we might have one or two other guys covering some of those races. So it's going to be really exciting. A lot of people have really kind of called it the IROC meets short track meets old school drivers. they all are having a kick out of it. So definitely looking forward to this series. It's going to be a blast to watch. Really entertaining. Lots of great stuff there. But let's get into all of our weekends. Like I said earlier, Zach, you were out at Indy, and Seth, you were out in Charlotte for the Coke 600. Rachel and I, though, instead of four wheels, we were out with the two-wheel guys with Pro Motocross as they started out their series out here in California, just outside of San Diego County. But California, where they had the 250 and 450 classes, a little bit different structure than Supercross. If you guys have followed and just started watching some of the two-wheel stuff with us here at Kickin the Tires. So the way motocross is broken down a little bit differently than Supercross. Instead of heat races, there's just two 30-minute motos, and then you pretty much get an average finish of both, and the lowest score wins. So I'll have an article to break down the differences between the two a little bit later this week or next week to help explain that. So that way, when you're watching motocross, you kind of know what to look for. But in the 250 class, Jett Lawrence, he's probably one of the hottest guys out there right now. Young kid from Australia. My uncle's training him. He's doing a fantastic job out there, but pretty much goes 2-1 and wins the overall in the 250 class. One other guy I have an article out on, which I'm going to share some audio here, was Maximus Volund. If you've watched motocross for a while, you know the Volund name. You've probably heard of Talon and maybe even his uncle as well. They've done some races in Supercross and motocross, have a couple wins under their belt. But Max is definitely a step above. He's definitely got something. He went out that first race and took the whole shot, never looked back, and he had some of the biggest names behind him. Both the Lawrence brothers, Justin Cooper, Justin Martin, a lot of big names, pretty much right on his tail, and they quickly learned who he was. But unfortunately, in that first moto, the engine blew on Max's bike, so that relegated him to a DNF. And so last gate pick, fighting his way up, battling for a top 5 at one point, but ended up crashing with RJ Hampshire and ended up dropping back to 7th. But still, even though his overall finished in its show, a very, very impressive debut, his very first national race in pro outdoor motocross. So huge kudos to him. But wanted to kind of break down and explain how his day was, because here's what he had to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, it feels great getting a 39th gate pick after a bike failure, and being able to pull a top 3 start was unbelievable. But man, I rode my heart out and had a lot of diversity today, and I was able to push through it and get a 7th at moto. And yeah, overall, I'm just so stoked.
It seemed like everything was against you. The bike was against you in that first moto, failing on you. And then tell me about that incident with RJ. That was about on lap 7 or so.
Yeah, you know, I don't really know what happened. That inside line was blowing out to the outside, and I heard him shoot down the outside, and I already committed to that line, and in my eyes, I still was ahead of him, and I felt a big hit into the back and just got collected. So, you know, wasting a whole bunch of energy, back to like 13th, I believe, and was able to get up and fight back to 7th, and yeah, and the track was gnarly. So, you know, I'm proud of myself. The team, they did good today, swapping motors back and forth, and overall, it was a great rookie first day. Just keep doing what I'm doing. I'm riding great right now, and it's still my rookie season, so I got plenty of racing under my belt for my whole career, and you know, I'm just going to keep chugging along and see where I end up.
And not only that, but the team manager for KTM and Husqvarna for North America, Roger Decoster, who already has a pretty Hall of Fame resume with motocross back from the 60s and 70s, now leading this team. Even he had some pretty strong words to say about Max's day.
Well, you know, I've been watching what he was doing in the amateur stuff, and I like just the style of the way he was doing things, and I believe that he was special, and he proved it today for his first national, you know, leading the first 20 minutes, and unfortunately we had a problem with the engine, and very sorry for that, because he may have been able to win that motor, but he fought back and finished 7th. I'm really proud the way putting in the effort, not quitting, and when everything was against him today, and really proud of him.
So a great first round out at Fox Raceway with pro motocross. Looking forward to the rest of this season. It's going to be really exciting. Lots of new names in both classes, and lots of veterans too, especially Eli Tomac. I got an article up on him. He's got some milestone markers where he's about ready to move up to 3rd on the all-time wins list in motocross. That's something that hasn't been changed in quite a while. So it'll be really exciting to see if he can break that barrier and get his name up there. He's definitely running a Hall of Fame career for sure. Other than that, like I said earlier at the show, we talked about it already. Zach, we'll go to you first. You already shared a lot about the Indy 500, but walk us through those last couple laps, because I mean, you go 500 miles, you do these different strategies, and then it just comes down to the last 6 or 8 laps trying to battle it out with what was at some point, there was a good 5-6 cars battling it out for the lead.
And that's what it's all about. It's all about the finish. Like, you can have a great 490-mile race, but when it comes down to those last 10 miles, I mean, you want to see exactly what we saw. And yes, it was 3 cars for a while there, with Catanzareti, Alex Palou, and then Patricio Ward. And right there near the end, Simon Pagenaud was coming with slightly fresher tires, and then he was coming quick too. Ed Carpenter was right there, so it became a 5-car race. And if there was any more time, I spoke to Pagenaud post race on pit road, and he said, I just needed one more lap, because Ward made a mistake coming off of turn 2 on the last lap. He got into 3rd, and then Palou made a mistake coming off of turn 4, and he was going to get Palou going into turn 1. He said if he just had one more lap, he would have gotten Catanzareti. So that has to hurt, but I mean, just coming from deep in the field like he was, I mean, that was a big deal to get a Penske car. I mean, they were struggling big time with qualifying speed, and Power had a dreadful day. Joseph Newgarden didn't do much. Scott McLaughlin was with mid-pack, so he was kind of the guy who led the team. And it really, for the most part, it was down to Elio and Pelot, and that was just such a hell of a battle. I mentioned the lead change numbers. There was actually a lot more lead changes, but because of Takuma Sato and Felix Rosenquist staying out for so long, they didn't count as lead changes. They were racing for third for a while. And the whole time I'm like, man, if those two don't pit, this battle doesn't mean anything. Who cares about every single driver post race was like, we don't come here for second, we don't come here for third. I don't care. Like it's just all about winning here in Indy. Next week in Detroit or wherever, okay, I'll take a podium, but here it's all about winning. And I think with like 6 or 7 to go, they finally pitted, and it was all out from there. And just an unbelievable battle, just kind of back and forth, and it was just all about timing those passes and learning with those lap cars what they were going to do. And it just led to an unbelievable race at the end. And the lap cars kind of came into play a little bit. They kind of helped Elio time out when he was going to pass Pelot, and he knew he was going to get that draft off of, I think, Hunter Ray up ahead, and that was just going to be enough to hold off for those last 2 laps. So an incredible race, and hell of a winner too. That was fun seeing him climb the fence and run back and forth. I mean, we're like, what in the hell is he doing? And Mario Andretti comes out and kisses him on the forehead, and every driver was so happy. People were screaming. It was just anything you would want from a winner. We saw it from Elio.
Yeah, and you kind of see these unique celebrations. Alan quickly doing his Polish lap, and these Indy drivers climbing the fence. But Elio just literally ran the opposite direction of the track, waving to the fans on both the infield, up in the grandstands. That was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I've never seen someone run. I thought he was going to run that whole front stretch for a minute there.
That's what we're saying. We're like, is he about to do a 2.5 mile run? all the camera guys were chasing him, and it took him a long time to get the reef on and drink the milk. Like he was, even when he was up in Victory Lane, he was doing the interview and just hugging every single crew member. And Roger was there, of course. He raced for him for 20 years at the 500, and won it 3 times for him. So that was a special moment to see there. And then it really solidifies seeing it when he's got the reef on, and he's got that picture of him drinking the milk, and that's when we knew it was all real, and that we just saw something truly special. Probably something we're never going to see again. Someone win 4 times.
Yeah, it's definitely one for the record books for sure. Well, great race there. Lots of memories made. Another big name going into the record books with 4 Indy 500 wins. We also had another name get entered into another record book, but that record book hadn't been touched since I think 1960 or something like that, or at least when it was started. 1980 maybe been the 80s may have been when the last time that record book was edited. But Petty Enterprises has been the all-time wins leader in the NASCAR Cup Series since the 1960s or something like that.
1954.
54, even further back. Jeez. But Seth, you at the Coke 600 this weekend, you got to witness history. That's almost 70 years in the making.
67 years.
Oh man, how many of us are 67? Oh wait, Jerry's not here yet. So but Seth, go ahead and share with us what that was like.
Well, Kyle Larson dominated. I mean, it was similar to what Martin Truex Jr. and Kyle Busch did in previous years in the Coke 600. No one could touch Larson, although even he will admit that he didn't have the best car. He didn't have the most dominant car. He just had the clean air. And with that advantage, he could choose where he wanted to run in the traction compound, and he could also maneuver his way around the lap traffic as he pleased. Others were not so lucky with the lap traffic. Kyle Busch, William Byron, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, they all complained about the lap traffic, especially the 66, David Starr. It was lap 23 that the drivers were starting to be warned about the 66 being off the pace. David Starr was called to pit road because of a failure to meet minimum speed, which the minimum speed was not publicized what it was this weekend. He was on pit road for 4 laps. Those were the only 4 laps he lost on pit road. David Starr finished the race 31 laps down. He lost 27 laps under green on track. I think it might be time for NASCAR to revisit the minimum speed rule. What do you guys think?
Yeah, well, obviously, so for those who don't know, minimum speed is a requirement, especially in the cup level. I think it's important, but it's for safety reasons. You know, these guys are the best of the best. They want the competition to stay as tight as possible. So if you have a car out there running 20 miles an hour slower, imagine just driving on the freeway, for example. You're going 65, 70, and then someone is going 45 on the side of you, right? That's slower than some of the trucks on the freeways, right? So it's definitely dangerous when someone out there is running that much slower, or even worse, for stuff like that. Even when they have damage from crashes and just trying to make laps, and they're running even slower, right? So it's not safe when they're out there that slow. Usually, most back markers are only a couple miles an hour off the pace, maybe 5 at most. But yeah, David Starr was pretty far off the pace. Not sure if just the engine was malfunctioning and not hitting on all cylinders or something like that, because that can happen when an engine goes sour. It loses the cylinder, and now you're only running on 7 instead of all 8. So it's definitely a tricky situation. I don't think we've had a serious issue like this in a while, so I don't, in my opinion at least, I don't think it's necessarily something to review just yet. But I definitely think it's something that NASCAR should be sitting down with whether it be David Starr or the 66 team to figure out, hey, was this a malfunction? Was this an issue? Or is this going to be happening again? And if it is, what do we need to do to fix it? Or hopefully not get to that point of conversation of not letting them out on the track. Hopefully they can be out there and get some funding to get some engines that can get them up to minimum speed and stuff like that. But it's super important to have that. I don't know what you guys think, Zach and Christian.
Yeah, well, you have to think about the team as well. Carlong Motorsports, it's been a tough year for them. I mean, this was their first race since Talladega, and they were full-time last year. They ran multiple cars at certain points, and Talladega was their last race, and then Bristol Dirt before then. I mean, those are two wildly different track types, of course. So you have to go back to Atlanta, race number 4, the last time they ran like a legitimate oval and definitely an intermediate mile and a half. So they've been going through a lot of tough times, and I know David hasn't had a lot of cup seat time. He's been in and out of Xfinity for a long time as well. So they're going through tough times. So I'll give them that, but you do have to come to the track prepared. If you pass pre-race inspection, I guess that means the sport's okay with what you're bringing to the table. They got to be on track a little bit before the race to qualify. I think they made a qualifying lap. So, I mean, they got to feel it out a little. But, as I said, as you said, it doesn't seem there's been too many significant issues. Drivers are always going to complain about lap cars. But when it's like a consistency of like one guy kind of causing all the issues, and especially if it's someone like David, who I feel like doesn't really cause many problems at all. He's super experienced. He's got a knack for keeping the car out of trouble and helping a lot of small teams out over these last 5 or 10 years. So I really don't think it's a driver thing. It's just the team just being behind on their luck and being behind on their paycheck. They need help. And I hope that help comes for sure.
Yeah, I think you nailed it too, with like some of the drivers having that good reputation and then they just have that off weekend. I mean, look at BJ McLeod. He's offered so many of these up and coming kids with rides. Sure, they're not a winning ride, but they're getting their name in the Cup Series, right? That's huge. And he makes that investment into them to help them out and does so much. And when you look throughout this entire season, the 78 car I think is the only one left in the entire Cup field that has not been posted as an issue or having an issue or causing a yellow flag or anything like that in NASCAR's official race book, right? So you look at some of these back markers and they have great reputation, and even though they are finishing 20 laps down or whatever, even though they didn't necessarily have any issues, they just don't have that equipment to get them around up front. They're finishing the races with no issues, being out of everyone's way and finishing. And that's what makes it much different than, an Xfinity or a truck team trying to get things figured out. This is the Cup Series, and this is where you got to make sure everything's all lined up.
And speaking of the Xfinity and Truck Series, they were also in action at Charlotte. In the Xfinity Series, Ty Gibbs did a spin and win for his second career win. With that, he is like 14th in the points, but he's not eligible for the championship because he's not running the full season. But he and Josh Berry, I think, are separated by like 15 points for Rookie of the Year. And Ty still has like 8 races left, while Josh only has 3 scheduled races left. So I have a feeling that will probably go the way of Ty Gibbs as well. In the Truck Series, John Hunter Nemechek won after hitting the flying debris from Johnny Sauter's destroyed truck. God, that was a scary wreck. It was almost like a can opener was taken to the side of his truck. Destroyed his...
I'm here, by the way.
Oh, hey, it's the boss man. Oh, shoot. Well, that's it for this episode.
Yeah, there you go. I do want to comment on Johnny's truck because, yeah, it looked bad, but that wasn't nowhere near as bad as it could have been.
Yeah.
Because if he'd have hit him full song in the square in the rear, that'd have been a whole different game. As it was, it looked like a can opener down the side. So it looks gruesome. Man, I'm so glad that Johnny didn't hit him full across the back end.
Yeah, you look at that chassis and it's all still intact. That's a miracle. That's a testament to how they build these trucks now.
That damage is a good sign. Like seeing the truck kind of fall apart. Those are the parts that are supposed to fall off and kind of cushion that impact. As you said, the cage, the skeleton of the car or the truck was still right there, keeping Johnny safe.
So that was another thing about the 14 truck is if you would have looked at how his head flew in the cockpit of that truck, that was really scary. I mean, I'm glad he doesn't have any neck injuries or anything because that was a really gruesome look from the front of the window.
Yeah, Trey Hutchins. What happened was he lost power steering, and going into turn 3, he cut a tire and hit the wall, which is why he slowed to a stop. At the same time, Matt Crafton blew his engine. And NASCAR was focused on Crafton's bright neon yellow truck instead of the dark blue 14 truck that was stopped essentially in the shade at night. So it was a worst case scenario to a certain degree. And that was Trey Hutchins' only truck.
I know we have NASCAR obviously has a race director, but how many race officials are watching the track around? Do we know that by chance or?
Well, we know that up in the tower, there's like 5 people that are watching the track, and then you've got there's track spotters around the track at different locations, as well as the safety crews that are in the vehicles outside of the track.
I know,
like where they're the ones that actually respond. But up from the top, there's like 5 or 6, and then you've got the pro trailer with cameras as well. So there's not much of the track that is not being watched at some point.
So then how is this truck like coming to a stop on the exit of 4 and there's no yellow? Like even after the impact, if you go back and watch the replays, which people have uploaded all over YouTube, but you go back and watch these replays, the yellow flag isn't even out. The blinking yellow light isn't even starting to blink until after Johnny Sauter has hit the truck and he's spun in through the infield. I think his truck is literally crossing where the Roval does the last little chicane right before the start finish line. His truck is already spinning down into there after the impact, and then the blinking yellow lights go on.
It is, believe it or not, it is a little bit difficult to see straight down from the top of the press box where they because the press box and the NASCAR officials are pretty close to one another at Charlotte, and looking straight down through the fence, you can lose a truck, at some point, just if you're looking down. And also you're looking at the action. A lot of times it's going on with the leader, not necessarily what's happening or a truck that's slowing in the field. And, it's going to get seen, but sometimes the NASCAR also, is it going to refire? Things like that. That wasn't the case here. It didn't refire, and someone just missed. It gets caught in the fence where there's a shadow or however. But in their defense, that is not an easy job.
And
I know Brian Wortman spoke on Facebook earlier this week talking about the place where the spotters were. he was complaining earlier in the day that there was a section of the track where a lot of the spotters could not see anything just because of the fact it was so, like Jerry said, that Charlotte, it's really hard to see right down. And so really, the spotters can't be blamed either, because the fact that they didn't see it, how could NASCAR have seen it?
And I believe the time between Trey actually coming to a stop and Johnny Hayden was somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 seconds. And if they had seen him and thrown the yellow, granted, you really can't play the what-if game, but the scenario, had they thrown the yellow when he stopped, it would have only been a difference of 4 seconds. Johnny was going to hit him no matter what.
Yeah, those trucks are moving at an exponentially rate of. I mean, when you talk about feet per second at 140 miles an hour, you're talking about traveling a football field in under a second. So I mean, it's that they're moving pretty damn quick. I can actually do that math for you. I need a calculator because I'm not that good, but yeah, the feet per second by miles per hour it's actually startling.
And it, like I said, it was a scary wreck. John Hunter Nemechek, it took off the roof camera on his truck, and he was actually joking earlier today because Lionel Race is making a diecast, a race win diecast of his truck. He's actually joking, telling them that they should take a hammer to the roof of each diecast.
So I went to my calculator where I actually have this. If you were doing 140 miles per hour, you were traveling 205 feet per second.
Yeah.
That's 2/3 of a football field.
Yeah. So that's pretty quick. And anybody can check my math if they want to go look. It's feet per second by miles per hour calculator.
But like I said,
I'm so glad I'm on the show.
but no matter what, that wreck was going to happen. Yeah. Just like no matter what on iRacing at the Chicago street course, there was going to be wrecks no matter what, because it was a tight, narrow, bumpy street course. Although rumor is several drivers may have taken the opportunity to get revenge for real life actions.
I have a question, because I've driven the streets of Chicago. Was it really the Chicago streets?
Yes.
Or was it the Chicago streets iRacing style? Because
it was the real Chicago streets.
So, okay. And they had the potholes and the...
Oh, yeah. The cars were bouncing all over the place. It was nuts.
Because the streets of Chicago suck. Do what, Zach?
Everyone's got broken suspension and flat tires because of the potholes.
Yeah, because the streets of Chicago suck. I'm sorry.
But less than half the field finished the race. Several got disqualified for too much damage. Several got disqualified, I'm guessing, for their retaliation, because there were a couple that were in the top 5, and then after they went full throttle into someone going into turn 1 or turn 11 or whatever turn it was, they were suddenly outside the top 20. James Davison basically put on a show like Lewis Hamilton does in Formula 1, and he won by 56 seconds. Only 3 cars were on the lead lap. Joey Logano in 10th was 3 laps down. 17 of the 37 starters finished. 10 of the 17 starters did not complete more than 4 laps.
Wow.
Yeah, if people want like NASCAR back to its old school roots,
that's what it is.
What we'll end up seeing on Sunday.
Yeah. And 13 lap gap between first and second at Darlington one time, I think.
Yeah,
and not that I'm going to bash Fox and FS1, but they kept the bulk of the broadcast on onboard shots, so you couldn't actually see what was happening in the race, and that's why you didn't see a lot of this retaliation and on-track action and disqualifications and wrecks and this and that. So not sure if they wanted to hide that, or I don't know if that was an iRacing thing. I don't know if that was a Fox thing. I don't know who the decision maker in this sense was.
So I got a question. It looks like you got a Tony Stewart Coca-Cola car, an Exide truck, and a Carl Edwards Scott's Turf car. Am I correct?
You got 2 out of the 3.
What's the top one?
Travis Pastrana Boost Mobile.
Okay, Boost Mobile. It's because I remember the Scott's Turf car had a similar paint scheme, only there was some green in it, I believe. Okay.
Ooh, a Travis Pastrana truck. I like it.
Car.
That's a car on top.
Oh, it almost looks like his when he was doing the trucks.
Yeah, the truck is in the middle, and Tony Stewart's Coca-Cola car is on the bottom.
It's Tony Stewart, Johnny Benson, Travis Pastrana.
Yeah, so that's kind of intrigued me, and I started to get back into collecting diecasts. I showed him earlier. We got some diecasts in the mail, and I'm excited to get started on these.
Hey, I got some news. NASCAR implemented a rule change today.
Yep.
They will go to, and if y'all have already talked about this, tell me, but they will go to 2 lights on the back of the Xfinity cars for road course races and wet conditions going forward. Also, there is a huge gala invite only next Saturday night to celebrate the 32 years of Eddie Gossage. So Kickin the Tires will be represented there. And we did get an invite. And let's see, in our personal website news, in the month of May, we received 1.68 million requests for data from the website. From the U.S.
What?
Yeah, 1.6 million requests for data from the United States.
You want to translate that to English?
I'm looking at our stats that you don't get to see. Basically,
that I don't get to see. Oh, well.
Yeah. So basically, that means that 1.6 million times in the month of May, we received a ping on the website from someone, or it could be a bot in some situations, asking for data from the site. So if they go to one page and then they go to another page, and then each one of those clicks is an individual request. So
yeah, and I try to filter out all the bots as much as I can. Obviously,
Right.
There's going to be a few that get through, so that way we have the most accurate info. But yeah, the website has been getting a lot of traffic lately. Thankfully, it hasn't crashed.
Yeah,
Well,
raw
since
users.
Well, since
Raw
joining,
users. Go ahead.
since joining Kickin the Tires, we just reached 50,000 views on the Arkham Menard series program. So that's a very big accomplishment for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the numbers. So to see that type of traffic come to the site, and I know I didn't filter out the bots with the 1.6 million, but still,
It sounds good.
well, I don't know how many are bots. I can't break that part down. You have to go in. Justin can tell you, but you have to go in and kind of do some adjustments that I don't know how to do, and it doesn't break it out for me. Because if they're good bots, then we want them to hit the website.
It's your car's extended warranty.
Yeah, right.
Oh God,
Justin, explain what good bots are.
Jerry, there's no such thing as a good bot. You just have a regular bot, and then you have malicious bots.
Well, a good bot would be Google
Well, yes,
or YouTube.
but Google is more of a spider than a bot.
I don't like
People don't know the difference between that. Just say bot. I got to teach you marketing. I've been at a bougie dinner all night long talking about marketing. Okay. And I used our website during that presentation. So people don't know what spiders are. They think those are, when people hear spiders, they think like my wife. There's something crawling on the floor that the cat hasn't killed yet.
I will say currently, right now, and I think this is set to the last 7 days, your Eddie DeHunt article with what we talked about on last episode has almost 2,500 views. Then obviously we take out the homepage, which, that doesn't really count for much because that's just either branding or a lot of bots crawling the homepage. I look more at what the individual articles are doing as far as their performance. But Zach, your IndyCar Fast 9 last row shootout set in Indy 500 qualifying, that one has over 500 views as well. So getting some good traffic there.
Yeah, we get a lot of individual unique user hits, but we get a lot of people that come to the site that click around and look for other stuff. I know that the individual ad, because I get a report from Universal Coin and Bullion, who's one of our sponsors. I get a report from them of how many people click through the ad to actually go to their website, and surprisingly, their number is sometimes even higher than the number that I see from our website. So I think analytics aren't always 100% accurate, but to know that you've had that many people clicking around your website and hitting links, or that not necessarily people, but that many clicks or hits on your site, unique users, we always have over 60,000 every month now. So,
yeah. No, it's great. It's pretty exciting to see it grow and that bar continue to go up. But Seth, though, let's just go ahead and get back to some of the iRacing stuff, because James Davidson, he was literally so far ahead of everyone else.
What can he do in a real car?
He was literally racing in another zip code.
Yeah,
well, he's good at Coda.
In a real car with good equipment, he can run well. He ran very well when he drove for Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series a few years ago. I will say this. When he won at Coda on iRacing, the charity he chose was the Greatest Generations Foundation. Well, since then, that charity, not only is that what he donated to, or is having iRacing donate another $5,000 to after his win Wednesday night, but that was also on his car. So he had each of the 4 major U.S. wars that the Greatest Generations Foundation represents veterans for: World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. He had images plastered all over his car. And the aim of the charity is to bring veterans to the battlefields they fought in, for essentially to reminisce, to relive, I don't want to say glory days, but the why they fought, and also to educate both millennials, Gen Z, and the younger generation why what they did matters today.
Well, Seth, thanks for breaking all that down. Obviously, if you're interested in following our iRacing news, Seth being our expert in the area, be sure to give him a follow over on social media. He's really involved in Twitter with giving lots of breakdowns, recaps, and other breaking news regarding iRacing events. Not just the NASCAR Pro Invitational Series, but the eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series. That's one thing to say 5 times fast. As well as some other big leagues like the FTF Racing League, which we help sponsor and are heavily involved in, and Monday Night Racing League, another big one out there that has some of the spotters and other crew members racing in that as well. So lots of big leagues, and Seth has a lot of the details, breaking everything down iRacing there. But for ARCA, Christian, that is your realm. So go ahead and give us a breakdown on what happened this past week, as well as a forecast of what's going on with the ARCA West and ARCA National Series.
Well, basically, the way we can sum it up is it's like Groundhog Day in the ARCA Menard Series. Ty Gibbs won again. Nick Sanchez gave him a run for his money late, but the flat tire ultimately led him to finishing 5th. But Corey Heim once again finished 2nd, kept a points lead as we head to Mid-Ohio this weekend. But Ty Gibbs won. He swept the day Saturday, and I guess the Xfinity race gave him a little bit of practice for the ARCA Menard Series, and solid victory for Ty Gibbs, and he's within 10 points of Corey Heim now. Otherwise, in that race, there wasn't very much else to discuss. But this weekend is a humongous weekend for the ARCA Menard Series. That is race number 1,500 when the checkered flag falls tomorrow afternoon at Mid-Ohio. It'll be the 1,500th race in ARCA Menard Series history. As we know, they will be accompanying the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Mid-Ohio. With that, we have a couple of Xfinity Series regulars stepping down. We got Brandon Jones will be racing for Venturini Motorsports for his first start since his victory, or since his last appearance in ARCA at Charlotte in 2008, or at Chicago in 2018. And then we also have a NASCAR Camping World Truck Series driver entered this weekend, with Hattori Racing Enterprises entering their first race of the year with Austin Hill, as they are going to look to earn a little bit of track time before the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series heads on to Watkins Glen in September for the regular season finale for the Truck Series. And otherwise, in the ARCA Menard Series, we've got normally the normal people. One of the big names that I think we have in the series this weekend, Stanton Barrett. Stanton Barrett will be racing for Fast Track Racing. So we have got a really solid lineup this weekend, but let me talk about a very solid lineup. Is this year we've really struggled with field sizes in some of our minor series. And this weekend we have a pretty good solid field entering a race this weekend at Sonoma for the ARCA Menard Series West as they return to action for the first time since February. As we know, Jesse Love raced at Toledo a few weeks ago and finished 5th. And Love will enter this race as the points leader because Ty Gibbs is not entered. And so he's looking to repeat as champion in the ARCA Menard Series West. We've also got Jake Drew. We've got Todd Salza. We've got a solid lineup of drivers this weekend in the ARCA West. And as normally when we go to Sonoma, we'll have a field full of Cup regulars, but that's not the case this weekend. This weekend, we only have one Cup regular, and that will be Chase Briscoe. And he will be driving for Chad Bryant Racing, kind of the same organization he did so well with a few years ago, but it was under the Cunningham name, and Cunningham sold to Chad Bryant. So we've got a solid field in both of our ARCA races this weekend. And next weekend, the ARCA Menard Series East returns to action at Southern National Motorsports Park. So we got a pretty busy 2 weeks coming up for the ARCA overall.
Yeah, and I saw that Stanton Barrett. It was really cool to see his name on there. I think it's his first start in 20 years?
2001 at Memphis was his last start in the ARCA Menard Series.
That's awesome. Then Fast Track Racing also has I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, so I'm going to be careful on this. But a South African driver, Arna Koch, I think is how to pronounce his last name. But he attempted a K&N West race before it was ARCA West several years ago, and the team withdrew after practice. But he's going to be making his ARCA debut also with Fast Track Racing, I believe in the number 10 car.
This is the first time that the NASCAR or the ARCA Menard Series has raced in Mid-Ohio since 1965. I was reading through it with my wife the other day, and I thought it was kind of interesting that some of the statistics of when we last raced at Mid-Ohio include just the low price for gas, the low price for milk. I mean, it was really weird to think about how long it has been since ARCA has raced at Mid-Ohio. So yeah, this weekend, and then we really break a hiatus from Sonoma because last year Sonoma, of course, got canceled due to COVID. So we'll be back at Sonoma for the first time. Last time, Noah Gragson won the race. Ryan Preece was disqualified late because he jumped to restart. And so, yeah, it's good to have all of our ARCA series kind of back in the swing of things after a pretty long break of just ARCA and ARCA East. But the ARCA Menard Series West will also kind of have a break after this weekend, and then they'll be back into full-fledged racing, I think, next month.
Awesome. Hey, I do have some breaking news from our government, according to the New York Times. The U.S. finds no evidence of alien technology in flying objects, but can't rule it out.
So did you just find something from Babylon B?
No, I swear to God, it's from the New York Times. American intelligence officials have found no evidence that aerial phenomena witnessed by Navy pilots in recent years are in fact alien spacecraft. But they still cannot explain the unusual movements that have mystified science and the military, according to senior administrative officials briefed on the findings in a government report that is being released. So there's no evidence of UFOs, but our government doesn't know what the hell they are.
They're still unidentified flying objects.
UAP, unexplained aerial phenomena. Now they're changing that to that.
Are they going to be held to a minimum speed also?
I'm wondering. I mean, some of these things, they're traveling as fast as race cars, and they can go underwater.
Oh man, they're going to stop by. They're going to stop by the gas station because being a UFO, they take unleaded fuel only.
Boom.
So would the ones underwater be USPs? And
do what?
Would the ones underwater be
unidentified
USPs?
Submarine object.
Yeah,
submerged objects.
No, they're flying along. I mean, haven't you seen the Navy videos where, like, the jet?
Yeah, I've seen them.
And all of a sudden they disappear into the ocean, and I'm like,
Well, probably because they crashed. I mean, planes over across seas disappear all the time.
Yeah, but these aren't crashing, and they come back.
All right,
It's like the drone. It's this. Here's a race. Here's a race that I can tell you about. The drone that outran the police helicopter. Okay, this is true. This past weekend over in Arizona, a Border Patrol helicopter and I think it was Tucson police helicopter, they were outrun by a drone that disappeared. Didn't crash. They think it was narcotics smugglers from Mexico and the new drone technology that the cartels are using to smuggle dope across the border. I don't make this stuff up.
Amazon. I was going to do an Amazon joke with the drones.
There you go.
Well, keep about those Amazon drones, though. If you see one up in the air and you think that's a package you want, I guess it's free game, ain't it? Because it'll be like a hunting deal now. Do you need a license for that?
Well, if you shoot a drone down, it is a federal offense.
Only if you get caught.
Yeah.
Okay,
if it's a cool package.
Well, yeah, but GPS, they will find you. Just remember that.
I just like those little robotic machines on college campuses that deliver things, and half the time they end up flipped over. Or I know one the other day got stuck on a train track, got ran over by a train.
All of those drones are hooked into the FAA database, like mine is, and they will find them.
Well, there we go. Seth, you have the points. Let's wrap this show up. But you
why? I'm having fun. I'm trying to I have driven us way off the rails.
Okay,
exactly my point.
So Zach is still leading the points.
Barely.
With 506. Yeah. Jerry, you are now second with 490.
Woohoo!
Zach and Christian, you're third with 477.
Thanks.
Justin is fourth. I may or may not be next to last. So
yeah, and Rachel only picks one driver this entire year, and she picks the winner, who like max points out. I'm just like,
yeah,
whatever.
Anyway, so I have the least amount of points of any of us on the show right now, so I get to pick first.
And wait, how did Sarah do? How did Sarah do?
Sarah, she finished fourth.
And Summer?
Summer finished second. Okay. And Matt finished 17th.
Okay.
And Matt, how did Matt do?
17th.
Oh, 17th? Okay.
How did I do overall for the week? How did I do just for the week individually? Like third, second?
Fifth.
But I gained points on everybody.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's because Zach was sixth, Justin was seventh, and Christian was last of all of us that picked.
Thanks,
yeah. Anyway, so since I get to pick first, I'm taking the easy ones off the table. I'm taking Ty Gibbs for Xfinity and taking Chase Elliott for Cup. I need the points. What can I say? Well, after that, the next person to pick is Christian.
I think I'm going to go with my same bold pick I made at Dakota that finished seventh. I think I'm going to go with Michael McDowell winning his second race this weekend at Sonoma. In Xfinity, let me look at who's raced because you picked Ty Gibbs, so I can't pick Ty Gibbs. Let's go look at Xfinity. Let's go look. Let's see who's racing this weekend. I think I'm going to go with, I don't know, Austin Cindric. I mean, he's won there before, I think. Yeah. He's a road course guy. And then I guess since somebody picked ARCA, I'm going to pick Ty Gibbs to win the ARCA race. And then if somehow Ty Gibbs can magically jump on a UFO and fly to Sonoma, I think he'll win there.
And meet minimum speed.
If he meets minimum speed, yep. No, actually in Sonoma, I think I'm really going to go with Chase Briscoe winning in the Chad Bryant car. I mean, you can't really race against Cup regulars. So I think Chase Briscoe will earn the victory in the West. So, yeah, that's my picks.
And Justin, you are next.
Yeah, I'm just going to go Ty Gibbs in ARCA National. I mean, that's everyone's racing for second when he's in the field. But for ARCA West, and this is just a little inside news. So ARCA West, I'm going to pick Jake Drew. And the reason being is because he did a test out in Buttonwillow in the same car. And he was running almost 6 seconds faster per lap on that road course out there in Buttonwillow. So he knows how to get around road courses. Me and him have raced together in karting. He's done some sprint karts. He's won some national races on that front. The guy knows how to turn right as well. So look out for Jake Drew to be kind of that underdog. He's going to fly under the radar and be a serious factor with that ARCA West race for sure. Xfinity Series, I'm going to go with AJ Allmendinger. And for Cup, I'll pick, I don't know which Kyle I want to go with. You know what? I was going to pick Kyle Busch. I literally have that written down right here. But I'm going to go Kyle Larson. I mean, a 1.75 average finish in the last 4 races. I mean, it's like picking Chase Elliott, right? It just pick the easy one when we're this far down, right?
Yes, and now we're getting towards the top of the board. So, Jerry, you are the next to pick.
I am taking Justin Allgaier in Mid-Ohio. He has a win there a couple of years ago. And I will take Alex Bowman, the showman.
Interesting.
3rd win of the year for the Bowman.
So there you go. That's there's your 2 winners right there. You can take it to the betting window.
Well,
Are you going to
Zach,
bet on it?
Of course I am.
All right, cool.
Well, Zach, who are you picking?
For Xfinity, I'm going to go with Alex LeBay. I feel like he's obviously very talented. He knows his way around a road course. For the Cup Series, I'm going to go with Chris Buescher. I know you guys are having a tough time keeping up with me, so I thought I would help you guys out a little bit.
Wait, is that a hit on Chris Buescher? Poor Chris Buescher.
Hey.
Hey, Chris Buescher has a win at Mid-Ohio years ago.
Yes, exactly.
First off, and second, Chris Buescher was actually the best finishing Ford at Charlotte.
Yeah, I didn't.
In the Cup Series.
Yeah, I picked him.
Did you really give us a chance?
Yes, just to give you guys a chance. That was the dig on you guys, not on Chris. The joke. But Chris is actually a really decent pick. I feel he's been really solid this year. He's decent at Sonoma in the past. This is his first time with Roush there. He ran well at Coda. Got a top 5 of the Daytona Volvo last year. Jerry, you mentioned his Mid-Ohio win in 2014 in Xfinity. So it's been a good year for him and Roush. I don't know if he's going to win, but I honestly think he has a good shot at a top 5. So just to make it interesting, I'm going to go with Chris Buescher. And hell, he might surprise us again, just like he did at Homestead.
I'm surprised nobody picked Denny Hamlin from Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, you said pre-show
Sonoma.
that you were going to pick him.
Sonoma, yeah.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I thought you said you were going to pick.
He's jumping on that UFO.
So nobody picked Hamlin. The guy who needs a win and has shown that he can drive his butt off at a road course.
Because I'll tell you what, if Larson keeps this up over the next several races, yeah, that point gap is going to shrink down, and Hamlin's 0 wins might be in jeopardy here.
Wow. Well,
Chris Buescher also has a win in ARCA at Road America.
Yeah, 2013. Yeah.
So, yep. Well, there you go. There you have it. The picks. Guess that's going to do it. We'll let Justin go through the show and edit out all of our bloopers so that you'll never see them. That's going to do it for us here on the Kickin' Show, and we'll see you guys next week as we'll be done with Sonoma and heading into the All-Star race.